Sometimes when you're working in the Power Platform, you need to receive data from somewhere and there's just not a pre-built connector for it. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how to make API calls from your Power App, and make sure you stay tuned to the end, and I'm gonna show you how to handle that data and parse that JSON inside of your Canvas app. Let's get right into it. So here we have an app where we want to look up recipes and we want to search for things that maybe we want to cook. You know, how many times have you looked for a recipe online and you have to read 20 pages of someone's life story before it actually tells you how to cook the thing? So what we want to do is be able to search in this search bar here, click the button and get a bunch of recipes returned to us. For each of those recipes, then I want to click through and see, okay, what are the ingredients and how do I make this meal? So how can we retrieve this data from the web if there's not a connector for it and we're trying to use Power Apps? That's where we're going to do something called an API call. An API stands for Application Programming Interface, and it's a way for this computer program that we are building in Power Apps to communicate with another computer program built somewhere else without the need for, a front end to display that data. It's kind of like just making a call over the internet and receiving data back. The easiest way, I think, to do that in a Power App is to actually incorporate Power Automate to do this for us. So to help me with that, we actually are going to be using a website called API Ninjas. And for the most part, it's free. You can sign up using your Google account, and you have a free tier that gives you 10,000 API calls per month. So it's a great little tool to just kind of mess around with and learn how APIs work. On the left, all the way down at the bottom, there's a recipe API that we can hit. So this URL, this is the endpoint. You'll hear it referred to as an API endpoint. So it's this, it looks like a website, and then at the end, there's a query. And it looks like the query is some sort of meal that we want to cook. And we can test this out by, if I just put in something else, if I want to learn how to cook a meatloaf, I hit send request, and it's going to return a response in JSON, so JavaScript object notation. This is what it's going to return to me. It looks like a table with each recipe has a title, some ingredients, some servings, and the instructions for how to make that. What I want to do is be able to type into here, meatloaf, or whatever it is that I want to cook, and then click this button to search for that recipe. So over on the left-hand navigation, you're going to find the Power Automate icon. And here you see I've already got some other flows in this app. Later on after this demonstration, I'm also going to show you some more business-related examples using API calls. But we're going to go ahead and create a brand new flow directly inside of this Canvas App Designer. So click Add Flow and then Create New Flow. And we're going to create from blank. Now this is going to use the Power Apps V2 trigger in Power Automate. And if you click on Power Apps V2, it's actually going to show us that we can add some inputs to this. So knowing that we're going to need to pass from Power Automate to this API the recipe that we want to find, we're going to add that as an input to our flow. So I'm going to click Add an Input, and I'm going to add a text input. Now this input right here, I can name this whatever I want. So I'm going to call it recipe. Now the next step is I just need to hit that API endpoint. And to do that, I'm going to make an HTTP request. If you're interested in learning more about this, be sure to check out our videos on YouTube. Jonathan Silva has a great video explaining the basics of making HTTP requests using Power Automate. So the connector here is simply HTTP. And now there's different methods for API calls, and basically we want to get data. So we're going to make a GET request, and the URI, this is looking for, in our API Ninjas, we have this URL here. So I'm going to copy everything except for this sample query. Paste that in here. And now I want to send from Power Apps to this endpoint the thing that was searched for in Canvas Apps. So there I have my input from my flow. The only thing needed for this to work is I also have to pass in an API key. Some APIs require different types of authentication. You can use the current logged in user or the user of the computer. This API Ninja site does not require any additional security. So all we need to pass in is our API key. And the only reason I know that is because on the website, it tells us for this API to work, there's one header we have to pass through, and the name of that header is listed right here. It's x-api-key. And then for the value, you need to put in your own API key. So I'm gonna go to this site, I'll go to my account, I'm gonna say, show me the API key, I'm gonna copy this to my clipboard. I'm gonna go back to my flow and I'm gonna paste that in there. So that is going to call that API with the query that we put in from powerapps. And then all we need to do with this flow is respond to powerapps and say, hey, here's the data that we retrieved with this HTTP call. So I'm gonna add a new step and I'm going to respond to my Power App. Now, what do I want to respond to my app with? Right now, I have nothing. So I'm going to add an output. I'll put this as text, and then we'll deal with that text later on when we get back to the app. So the output of this flow is going to be text. I'm going to call this output whatever I want. I'll just simply call it response. And what's the value that I want to respond to my app with? I'm going to respond with the body that was returned from my HTTP call. Before I click save, this flow is untitled. So I'm just gonna call this recipe flow. And then I'll save my flow. And when it's done saving, it's gonna put us right back into our Canvas app where we can start using that automation. All right, now we're back in our app. We have a new flow here called recipe flow. And now I just need to tell the app when to run that automation. And I wanna run that automation on the click of this search button. So I'm gonna go to my search button, and on select of that button, I wanna run my recipe flow. So if I just start typing the name of the flow, you'll see the name of the flow .run. Now this is not a valid command because we have to put in some parentheses, and we see that if I try to close my parentheses, that is not valid either because this formula has an input. If I go back and I do run this flow, you'll see that it's telling me, hey, you have an input here called recipe. So basically, what are you searching for? I'm gonna go to this text input, which over on the right, you can see I've named txt search. So I'm gonna go back to my button and I'm gonna say txt search dot value contains the recipe that we want to run this flow with. Now that's gonna work, that's gonna run my flow. But I can't just run the flow. I need to do something else. What I need to do is I need to gather the response that happens after this flow runs. So rather than just running the flow, for right now, I'm gonna set this as a variable so that you can see what the response is going to look like. So first I'm going to set a variable, and I'll call this var response. And I wanna set var response to the outputs of this flow. So after I run my flow, I'm gonna do a dot, and there's the outputs. There's our response. I'm gonna close my parentheses, and I have a label in this container over here. It has nothing in it right now, but just so we can see what this response is gonna look like, I'm gonna make the value of this text label var response. So if I go to play, and let's say I wanna search for ham and eggs, and then I click search, you can see this is what gets returned to me. This is the response. For our purposes, this is totally unusable at this point, right? If I scroll to the top, you can see it starts with a square bracket and then a curly bracket. So that's my first indicator that this is some JSON. And if you know a little bit about JSON, you know that if it starts with a square bracket, this is actually a table. So over on the right, I have a gallery set up that's waiting for a table. Now that we know what this response looks like visually, let's go back to the drawing board with this button. Maybe rather than using a variable, since I'm getting a table back, instead of setting a variable, I'm gonna collect that table into a collection inside of our app. So I'm gonna do a clear collect to first wipe the collection and then recollect. First, I need to name my collection. So I'll call this COL returned recipes. And then what is the value that we want to collect into COL returned recipes? We want to collect the response from our flow. So I'm going to try to search for that and see what happens. Now, if I go to my collections and variables part of my app, I'm going to go to collections. I'm going to go into returned recipes, and that's not really better at all. So what I need to do is I need to say, okay, I need to parse this JSON. It's just taking that JSON string and putting it into that collection. That's not gonna work. So what I actually need to do is first parse JSON. This is a command in PowerFX, and that will take that JSON string and convert it into an actual object that we can then use in our app. So first, parse JSON. Well, now that doesn't work because the JSON that we're parsing, it's gonna give us an untyped object. We need to specify what is the output of this. So right before parse JSON, I'm gonna convert this to a table, since we know that it is a table. Now our app seems happy. I'm gonna hold Alt and click that button. And now if I go to my collection, you'll see we actually have some records there. Same thing, because we're using API, because we're using JSON in our Canvas app, we're getting untyped objects for all of these. So we're also gonna need to kind of do a little bit of conversion when we use it in our gallery. But at least now we know we have a collection. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this error. And now we have a gallery, and I'm gonna tie that gallery to our collection. So COL returned recipes. You see we've got some data in here. And because this is the sample gallery, first I need to change this from this item dot value. It's trying to guess what we want to put in there. Now, each column has a value, and we want to go one step deeper. So each row in that collection in the value column contains an entire record. So we need to parse that out a little bit. I'm going to do this item dot value dot, and then because these are all untyped objects, IntelliSense isn't really helping us. So I can go back to API Ninjas and say, hey, how is this going to get returned? And for each value, there's going to be a title, some ingredients, some servings, and instructions. For that first label in our gallery, I'm going to make that this item dot value dot title. For this label, I'm going to make this item dot value dot servings. And just to test, make sure that this wasn't a fluke, we'll try it again. So I'm going to hit play. I'm going to search for hamburger. And there we go. We've got Hong Kong hamburger, Hacienda hamburger. So lots of different hamburgers in here that got returned. So how about whenever we click on one of these recipes, it takes us to a screen, and it's going to show us the name of that recipe, the ingredients, and the instructions all on one page. First, let me go, and this gallery, I'm going to rename this to GAL recipes. And then when I click on this button, it's going to take us to this other screen here. So for this, I'm actually going to make this title, rather than say title, I want this to say gal recipes dot selected, which is the selected record, dot value, which is the row in our collection that contains the entire record, and I want the title. So here's the page for Hong Kong hamburger. Same thing for ingredients. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. This will be the ingredients. Now, one interesting thing about these ingredients is I'm noticing a trend where they're all separated by a delimiter, a common delimiter. So maybe we can take this another step further. I'm gonna delete this. I'm actually gonna copy this formula, which is giving me this list of ingredients separated by a pipe delimiter. I'm gonna delete this label, and I'm gonna convert that into a table. So I'm gonna use another gallery. Move this up. I'm going to move this up below the title. And then for the items in this gallery, I just want to split those ingredients, and the delimiter, or the separator, is a pipe. I can get rid of this image here. I don't need that. And for the text of this label, this item dot value. I can go ahead and delete this other label. So now we have a list. I'm gonna go ahead and shrink the template cell up a little bit on this gallery. Now we've got a perfect scrollable table for all of the ingredients for this Hong Kong burger. The last thing I need to do is just put in the instructions for how to cook this. So gal recipes dot selected dot value dot instructions. Go ahead and make this font size a little smaller so we can all see it. And I'll maybe make the height of this label just a little bit taller. With this solution, we can now skip having to read someone's life story to learn how to make a hamburger. Obviously, this is not a great example if you're watching this trying to learn how to make Power Apps for your work or your business. So I have a couple of examples here that APIs are great for. You'll see how fast they are. They work amazingly. So here, you just provide a zip code, you can search for it, and it's using that same type of flow to make an API call and respond to the app with the city and the state, St. Augustine, Florida. If I want to calculate sales tax, I can say, okay, I'm doing this project and the zip code is 13031 and the cost is going to be $987. Well, what's the actual total of this project? I can hit an API endpoint to return the sales tax and I see, okay, the total is going to be $1,065.96. Last but not least, if I'm filling out a form and I don't want to take the time to actually put in something real, if I try to validate that phone number, it's going to tell me, hey, that's not a valid phone number. That's not real. But if I put in an actual phone number, now this is not my phone number, so don't even try to call it. If I try to validate that number, it's happy. That's a valid number. So these are just a couple simple examples. You can see it works very fast and it's all using HTTP calls. It's using API ninjas and we're parsing that JSON right in the app. So these are all real use cases that I deal with our customers in our virtual mentoring. Now, if you have examples like this and you're unsure of where to start, definitely look into our virtual mentoring service. We help customers with problems like this all the time. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.